30 years, and they are not sensitized, let's say, to the history of Union Church, of the Negro Community Center or the NCC. Some of them probably are still offended by the word Negro, but we have a fund called United Negro College Fund that does very well, and you have the NAACP. So these are things that are still doing very well. It's the same thing, we get that with the Colored Women's Club. Why do you call yourself the Colored Women's Club? Like, we're 100, we celebrated our anniversary in 2002. So like, we're 103 years old, and it's always been that. It's tradition. You just, if you change it and you call yourself the Black Women's Club, it's not the same thing. So it's the same sort of thing. And again, back to the people that have newly arrived, they're not sensitized to the point that it's not their history. They don't know the sacrifices of the church. Let's say when we were told that, you know, you can't come to this church, i.e. St. George's or some of the other Anglican churches. I have friends that tell me their parents were told they couldn't go to some of the Catholic churches. And, you know, so what happened there, they were told, go to the little colored church, or the little black church, which turned out to be Union United. Now, if you don't know that, and you're just coming here and you say, oh, I need to go to a church, if someone says, well, knock it down, give it away, you say, okay, well, it doesn't really matter. You know, and a lot of the people down at Union that are supposedly in charge, or the ones on the board, they're from that background, so they really don't care. And you take that the same thing to the NCC. You have people saying, well, why don't you just sell it or get rid of it? Again, the history is the same. They don't know how it was for blacks here, you know, that you couldn't go here and you couldn't go there and you were being spat at and all that. They came here when it was all nice, so sort of nice, because discrimination still does exist here. It's just underground, sort of. So those people, again, it's easy for them to say, just throw it away. They're not like, I came to the center when I was a child, and my father was not a nice person, so we lived, and I lived down the East End, like, I mean real east, like Bout de l'Île, Pointe-à-Tremble. So it took us 2 hours to come to the center. It took about 4 buses, winter, summer, mostly winter, because summer, there was summer camp and we more or less stayed in the East End then, but so I know it was like a haven for my sisters and I to come here and come to the center and pass the day, because we come in time for ballet tap lessons in the morning and piano around lunchtime, and then the ballet in the afternoon. That's the way Auntie Olga did it. So, and then at least we were away from whatever was going on at home for the day. So it means a lot to people like myself that we don't want to give it away or sell it, and even if we were to sell it in this neighborhood right now, the bylaws would not permit us to put up another building like this. The size of it is now more, what do you call it, condos and things like that, so we wouldn't be allowed to do it.
The building that you're speaking about is the one on Cookson?
Right, right.
And you spoke of someone who organized the day?
Oh, Auntie Olga, that was Mrs. Olga Spencer. She was the tap and ballet teacher. She was tap and ballet teacher for, must be 30 years, if not more than that, probably. I'm not really sure how long, but she was, I know from my day, and I'm talking about 50 years ago. So she was our tap and ballet teacher at the center every Saturday. And our piano teacher was Daisy Sweeney, who's Oscar Peterson's sister, and she also taught Oliver Jones. So the history is there, and as I said, it's important to keep it and to know it. It's not just an old building that it brings us together. Like we've been working with some urban planners, and they're surprised that we're still a group, like we have 300 members, and the reason is that building, the building sort of ties us together. Yeah, probably if we didn't have the building, we wouldn't still be be around, you know, but it's important.
So you see the building as a focal point for the community.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain a little bit of that history? You've explained a little bit about for yourself. How did you get involved in it? Was it because it was a haven from family, or how did it?
Well, the history, it started, as I said, it came, you're asking when?
Actually for yourself.
For
how did you get
myself?
involved there?
Well, it was here, and I was born in Montreal, and there were not a lot of black people where I lived. Like, I was born, in the west end of Montreal, but my father was in the army, so we got a wartime house. So we lived in the east end, and that's where they built most of the wartime houses. And we were like two black families in Montreal, in Montrealese. So, and my mother wanted us to do tap and ballet, so we knew about the center because my parents were married at Union United. I was christened at Union United Church. So even though we lived in the East End, we still had connections, or we still had ties with the church. And my father, working for the railroad, and he wasn't a porter as was customary. My father was a machinist. He repaired the trains. He worked for CN until he retired. And he retired at 65, but he worked with CN from 1950, a little after I was born, because I think before that he worked for the Canadian Vickers. But so that's where my tie started, was my mother wanting us to take tap and ballet, and I did tap and ballet and piano for about about 7 or 8 years, and then I got to be a teenager, so I don't know, I guess that was just too cool or whatever to continue with tap and ballet. So that's the reason that I'm involved. I was on the board. I've been on the NCC board for about 4 years now. And when they had the last elections, like the whole board was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was not demolished, but the whole board was.
They turned over.
Yeah, the whole board was changed, and I was the only one that was left. And then we had elections, and that's where I am now. So, and I'm very much interested in getting it open and started, because I think it's important. There are too many kids on the street getting into trouble. They've got no place to go. We as a black community, we don't have a building that we can say is our own, a place. And black people have contributed, contrary to a lot of people believe, to Montreal. I mean, if you go back, and I'm not just talking music and sports, they've contributed a lot. We've had people come from other parts of Canada, Nova Scotia, and Americans that have made their contributions, and there's nowhere that says they've done this or they've done that. There's just nowhere. I mean, the last two places are the church and the NCC building, and for what's going on at the church now, there's not a lot of hope there, because what we're told is that we don't own the church, so the Church of Canada owns it. And with the NCC, well, the building has been closed for close to 15 years now.
So sorry, do you see the NCC then as an answer to a lot of these problems, and how do you see the NCC answering some of these issues that you say are facing?
Well, I think for one thing, it'll instill some sense of pride, some sense of coming together. Like, if we all work together and get this open, a sense of pride. Okay, look what we did. I think that it will help to encourage some of the young people, not all, of course, but to do something positive, because all too often we hear negative things about young black kids. We don't hear the positive things, and one of the positive things I'd like people to know is that every year at Union United Church, there's a scholarship Sunday where at least between 25 and 30 scholarships are given away to kids, black kids doing very well, and you hear them you know, they're into the sciences and the, so, but people don't hear that. They hear that somebody got shot or, something negative. And so I think in that regard, plus the plans that we have for reopening include things like education and the arts and, just around about that. Surely that even if we save one person or help one person, it's important.